You are listening to a special audio series, Netaji, The Birth of Indian Independence, on your very own ACE FM, with me, RJ Mini, and the writer of this audio series, Manoj Swami. We are continuing the saga of the greatest warrior of India's independence struggle, whose bravery and foresight will be echoed in the history of Hindustan for centuries. Ours is also an effort to reveal the inspirational aspects of the life of Netaji, in which we have mixed facts with a little fiction for the purpose of entertainment. In the previous episodes, we began listening to Netaji's biography. Through the glimpses of his childhood, we learned about his fearless, curious, and determined personality. We also learned about the influence of Swami Vivekananda on Netaji from an early age. In that era, a wave of rebellion had risen among the youth of Bengal against the British Raj, and also how an injured young revolutionary, while taking his last breath on the terrace of the Hatkhola Rajbari, taught Netaji the importance of the country's freedom. This incident also left an indelible impression on the mind of young Subhash, with the realization that blood may have to be shed, if needed, in order to achieve freedom from British slavery. Now let's take this interesting story forward in our 7th episode, entitled Jhansi Ki Rani. Inspector Delton and his constables soon reached the roof of Hatkhola Rajbari and tried to identify the youth. He was sure that young Subhash would not have any clue about the dead revolutionary, but he had to conduct an investigation to get to the bottom of the matter. So Inspector Delton quietly calls Janakinath and Sharat Chandra to the roof in order to avoid any disruption in the Durga Puja rituals. When they arrived on the roof, a constable from the police team, who was searching the dead body of the youth, took out a blood-stained slip from his pocket on which a name was written, Ashutosh Biswas. When Inspector Delton showed the slip to Janakinath Bose, he was shocked. Ashutosh Biswas was a famous public prosecutor of the British government. He had sent many young revolutionaries to the gallows, and now his name was at the top of the hit list of the Jugantar and Anushilan Samiti. Inspector Delton probingly asked Janakinath, "Do you know this boy?" Janakinath was surprised by this awkward question thrown at him and replied, "What are you talking about, Inspector? How would I know such an antisocial element? I came to Calcutta from Cuttack for a few days with my family to escape the epidemic of cholera in Cuttack. We plan to return as soon as the Durga Puja festivities get over." Inspector Delton said, "That means this boy is not from Cuttack." Janakinath said, "Absolutely not. Cuttack is a small town, and I know most of the antisocial elements there. If he was from Cuttack, I would have definitely recognized him." Another constable from the police team says, "But I have seen him on many occasions in the Presidency College. Once I even tried to catch him while distributing Jugantar Patrika, but he escaped, taking advantage of the serpentine lanes and narrow streets of the maze-like area of Manikarnikafilms." Inspector Delton looks towards Sharat upon hearing the name of Presidency College and notices that Sharat is quietly standing with his head looking down at the floor. Sensing Inspector Delton's intention, Janakinath tells him, "You are mistaken, Inspector Delton. Sharat has not been to the college for several months since you brought him to Cuttack from Calcutta. He has been under my close watch ever since. He has nothing to do with all this." Then he looks at Sharat and tells him, "Sharat, please tell the inspector that you don't know this boy. You have nothing to do with him." Sharat responds slowly, "I have nothing to do with this dead boy, Baba, but I have seen him at the Presidency College. He was a sophomore studying philosophy there." Janakinath is taken aback upon hearing this. Inspector Delton asks Sharat, "Do you know the name of this boy?" Sharat replies, "No." "Did he come here to meet you?" Inspector Delton asks Sharat further. Sharat responds, "I don't know. I have no connection with him. I just know that he is a second-year student in my college." Inspector Delton tells Janakinath, I hope you understand the seriousness of this matter. Mr. Jankinath, I am sorry, but I have to take Sharad with me to the police station for further investigation of this case in order to identify this boy and his associates. While this conversation was taking place, Prabhavati Devi and her younger brother Rabindranath Datta had already arrived on the roof, and at that point Prabhavati intervened and told the inspector, "My son Sharad is not going anywhere. Don't try to take undue advantage of his naivety and obedience." Jankinath tries to stop his wife and says, "Prabhavati, these are legal matters. You wouldn't understand. Let the inspector do his job." Prabhavati frowns at her husband and says, "Just because I have been keeping quiet for so many years does not imply that I don't understand anything. I would request you to please do not interfere while I'm talking to the inspector." Then she asked Inspector Delton, "Do you have any warrant or arrest order to take Sharad with you?" Inspector Delton is a little taken aback by Prabhavati's firmness. He has no answer to Prabhavati Devi's question. Prabhavati, maintaining her aggressive manners, tells the inspector, "If you don't have any warrant or an arrest order, then please go and get it first." Prabhavati grabs Sharad's hand and starts to take him with her, saying, "Inspector Delton, no one goes empty-handed from Datta Bari's Durga Puja. If you have come here as a guest, then you must have the prasad before leaving our home. If your investigation requires Sharad's presence at the police station, I assure you that I will personally bring him to you." Prabhavati left the scene as everyone else stood there stunned. Rabindranath Datta makes a comment light-heartedly. "Inspector Delton, my Didi is no less ferocious than the Rani of Jhansi when it comes to her children. It is in everyone's best interest to do as she says. She is not only a lawyer's wife, but a lawyer's sister too. She will not do anything illegal. Please carry out your investigation properly, but I would suggest you take the deceased body of this boy from here quietly. Datta Bari's puja should not be besmirched at any cost." Inspector Delton and his team of constables silently take the young man's body from there without anyone else noticing anything. Subhash had been silently observing the whole incident until now. He had seen a very different side of his mother that night. Seeing his mother's fierceness, he too was stunned, but was also very happy at the same time. After the police team left, he asked his uncle, "Ruby Mama, who is this Rani of Jhansi?" Rabindranath Datta, maternal uncle of SubhashChandra had studied law, but he was not a practicing lawyer as he did not want to represent and work for the British court. He asked Subhash with an element of surprise, "Ole Baba, my little nephew, don't you even know who Rani of Jhansi was?" Subhash shakes his head in response and says, "No, Mamu, I do not know who she was." Ruby Datta lovingly tries to tell Subhash about ranilaxmibai by reciting a poem.
सिंहासन हिल उठे राजवंशों ने भ्रकटी तानी थी, बूढ़े भारत में भी आई फिर से नई जवानी थी। गुमी हुई आजादी की कीमत सबने पहचानी थी, दूध फिरंगी को करने की सबने मन में ठानी थी। चमक उठी सन 57 में वह तलवार पुरानी थी, बुंदे ले हर बोलों के मुंह हमने सुनी कहानी थी। खूब लड़ी मर्दानी वो तो झांसी वाली रानी थी।
That's all for now. We will share the further conversation between the uncle and the young nephew Subhash with you in the next episode. Until then, stay with us on our show, that is with me, RJ Mini, and the writer of the story, Manoj Swami, on your very own Ace FM.